Welcome to Lifestyle Solopreneur, the community for entrepreneurs who put lifestyle first. Join your host, Flavia Barris, as she interviews successful lifestyle solopreneurs and shares ideas to help you find the perfect balance between lifestyle, business, and self. Flavia is an attorney, marketing expert, and founder of several online academies. She's been featured in major media, including BBC World News, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Post, ESPN Television, and more. Join us for this episode of Lifestyle Solopreneur. Hey, Lifestyle Solopreneurs. Today we get the absolute privilege of speaking with Tommy Breedlove. He is a Wall Street Journal and USA Today bestselling author of the book Legendary. He is Atlanta-based, and he is a business that focuses on relationships, mindset coaching, and the world of entrepreneurship and business. He is a regular featured keynote speaker at global events. He serves clients and audiences by empowering them to build a life that is a legendary life. He guides them to build a lasting legacy, work in their zone of brilliance, obtain financial confidence, and live with meaning and balance. Welcome to the show, Tommy.
Solopreneurs, I am super excited to be here. Grateful. Loved our pre-chat. So let's do this.
And Tommy, you've been going through some major kind of shifts in your own business. Tell us a little bit about your journey. First, that career that you escaped from and, what you were doing before, and then what you transitioned to, and then your latest shift, which is actually big news in your world.
Yeah, thank you for that. I would love to share that. I was in the big world of financial consulting, public accounting, and mergers and acquisitions for almost 20 years. And to say that we were working a lot of hours, now the income and the money that we made was fantastic, but at what expense? We were working sometimes 70, 80, 90 hours a week. And I never thought I would leave that world, if you can believe that. And so I went through a major transformation around 36 or 37 years old. I still didn't walk away, but when I went through that transition, what I noticed is my income doubled. I went from junior partner at a firm to senior partner at a firm to elected to the board of directors at 39, and also just found peace of mind and balance and a happy marriage, which hadn't been happy for a long, long time, and also better friendships. And so when that happened, I literally went from working 70, 80, sometimes more hours a week down to 30, but the results in my success were the same. I was just a lot more efficient. I was a lot more empathetic, a lot more compassionate. And when that happened, all of these corporate executives, entrepreneurs, bankers, lawyers, accountants, basically my ecosystem started reaching out to me, asking me what I did. They asked me, hey, we saw you as X and now we see you as Y. Tell me the drug you're taking. Like, what did you do to find this peace of mind, this balance, this happiness in life without compromising your ambition? And I said, there's no magic formula. This is what I did. And so at 39, I was literally a partner in this firm and on the board of directors. I decided to walk away and pursue coaching because all of these people were asking me, how do we gain more confidence and courage? How do we not compromise our ambition and our desires, but how do we live a more fulfilled, confident, happy life? So I decided to chase this dream. But when I left, I literally wanted to work half a year and travel the world for half a year. So I truly wanted to live the solopreneur life, have a great small team around me, but start enjoying life as opposed to working all of the time. That was for a couple of years. Then all of a sudden, something magically happened. We saw the impact, not only the book Legendary made in people's lives, but our mastermind programs, our coaching programs, our retreats and conferences. We saw the transformations happening in people's leadership, in their marriages, in their families, in their money. And we're like, we're really onto something here because this really works. And then when the book became a Wall Street Journal and USA Today's bestseller, we're like, this must be not a luxury to read, but a necessity during these crazy times. And so recently we have decided to really upscale and scale this business so that we touch more lives. It was an impact-based scaling as opposed to I just want to go out there and make $1 gazillion type scaling. And so recently we shifted that. We've hired big time. We went out and bought a lodge in the North Georgia mountains that also has its own team to run our foundational retreats at. We keep bringing on people. We've expanded the marketing budget. So we went from loving life to being a solopreneur, went from corporate refugee, for lack of a better word, to a solopreneur, was happy. But then we had this drive we wanted to touch more lives. And the only way to do that was to build the infrastructure, the business. And truthfully, I would be fibbing if I didn't tell you that we've also worked our work hours quite a bit up. So we're back to working a lot of hours, but it seems to be more enjoyable because we feel like we're making great impact. We love the work that we do. We've really divided and conquered. So we have a great team around us who also love their work. And so it's been a big shift for us recently, going from a very small business to what is now a growing and scaling business with all of its headaches and cash flow and profitability and systems and legal and accounting and marketing and sales, all that good stuff. But, I wouldn't have it any other way, because at the end of the day, our dream is, we started the men's movement. Next year, we're going to start the women's movement, is literally 1 million lives transformed. And it started as 1 million men's lives transformed, but now we want to also do 1 million women's lives transformed. So thank you for letting me share that. And that's been the journey thus far.
Well, those are huge changes. And I think with scale and growth, there's always sort of that danger of overwork. I mean, you've mentioned that your hours have gone up, but your satisfaction with life and your energy and how you feel about it, working long hours now, is night and day from how you felt in the corporate world, where you were maybe working that same number of hours, but at the end of that day, you weren't feeling inspired, motivated, and ready to hit the ground running the next day. You were probably exhausted and maybe hating life a little, because we've all sort of been there if we are reformed workaholics or people who have shifted from that kind of corporate rat race mentality to something a little bit more free form and with a little more white space in our calendar. My question for you is, how are you going to maintain your sort of your focus on quality of life and quality of self and time with this big giant growth spurt? It's easy to do a sprint, right? We're all capable of, you just do it for a little while. But do you have any plans to either shift the tempo or just to keep yourself balanced mentally?
So I am dogmatic. The first thing that I do is I make sure that this is going to sound selfish, but it's the most selfless thing that we can do, is I never give up on what I call my daily morning routine. So for me, and then I'll talk about my family life as well. So for me, I think as a society, we've had it backwards. We say family and friends are first, work second, but I think it's the exact opposite, and ourselves last. I think if we really look at what people do, they'll put their work first, their friends and family second, and themselves last. So I've shifted that model for me, my team, and my movement. Is it starts with the person first. And what does that mean is every day for somewhere between 60 minutes and 2 hours, from physical muscles, mental muscles, spiritual muscles, and emotional muscles, from gratitude journals to meditation to exercise to walking in nature to reading and a few other tools and tips that I do every single day, is to keep this foundation strong. It's to keep me humbled. It's to keep me balanced. And it's to make me strong. I've got to lead myself before I can lead others. I have to love myself before I can love others. So I've twisted that model. The second thing I prioritize, I've been able to eliminate most of the negative folks in my life. And my wife and my team have become some of the best friends I've ever had. So I get to spend a lot of time with people that I truly care about. And my wife is heavily active in the business. So what we've got to be careful of there is we've got to be careful of not becoming business partners, that we don't leave. We still have our marriage. We still have our date nights. We take vacations together, that we don't talk about business or the next thing that we're doing. And also we're really good about breaking apart, and her going, spending time with her friends, and me going to spend time with mine. But I've minimized my friends down. It might sound like a sad thing, but I've been a whole lot happier since I've eliminated a lot of the friends and the negative energies from my life. So I prioritize myself first. And one way that I also remind myself of not getting burned out is never stop believing in the work. It's not about me anymore. It's not about the book anymore. It's not about my ego and pride anymore. I've been there, done that, checked the boxes, had all the shiny things, and was miserable. And if I remember to, even on the days that I get the F-its, whether it's, the FUs or the F-its, and I hope that's not too crass, but we get them, right? I get them. And I just say, you make it about the work, you make it about helping people, you make it about net giving, and never stop believing in the work. So My goal is this, is we're in major building mode. And like you said, that comes in sprints, but I don't want it to come at the expense of me, my marriage, my team, and the work, right? And so what we're doing now is I've just brought on what I would call a right-hand person who's going to help me lead this, might even manage the whole company, but I don't want to walk it alone. I don't want to do it alone. So I want to bring great people on who believe in the work and what we do and who believe in this purpose. And so for me, we are in building mode. But the moment that I feel safe, like we've built a solid, stable company, that way, then we'll start pulling it back a little bit and bringing on more people to help us do it so it doesn't come at our personal expense.
And you seem to have really nailed down the science of delegation, building team and being a team leader versus a do-it-yourselfer. I know a lot of solopreneurs get trapped in that and are never able to really break free from the I've got to do it all myself mentality. What are some tips you can give to solopreneurs that really are just Jack and Jill of all trades and they're spending too much time on all of the different parts of the business that they really should be delegating to others? What can you tell them to help them make that transition?
So great question, Flavia. The first thing I would ask is, how much is your time worth? Truly, how much is your time worth? And yes, you're going to have to make an investment. It's not an expense. You're going to have to make an investment to eliminate the things that either you're not good at or that you hate doing it. And so if you think you're good at marketing, sales, people, technology, accounting, everything and the crap that you run, I hate to say it, you're wrong. And I don't want to say it that, I don't want to be that brash about it, but the truth is we're only really good at 2 or 3 things. And so the first thing I would say is establish what your time is worth. Is it $50, $100, $500, $5,000? It doesn't really matter to me, but what is your time worth? And you will be happier, more successful, you got to make the investment and outsource the things that you're not good at. You need to stay in your zone of brilliance because that's why you chose to do your craft anyway. Concentrate on the craft and outsource the rest. Establish your dollar amount, and anything under that you're not good at, you need to outsource. Now, it might take a little bit of financial management, some time and some patience, but start with one person and then start with 2, because at the end of the day, you're suffering. The work is suffering and your clients are suffering if you're trying to do it all on your own. And here's the truth. The reason you're doing that is because you're struggling with perfection and control. And the truth is perfectionism is a myth. It doesn't exist. You're going to screw up, especially if you're doing everything. That means you're doing nothing right. And the second thing is you're in control of nothing. The only thing that you're absolutely in control of is your thoughts, your attitudes, and your actions. And so letting go, surrendering, knowing that you're going to make mistakes, and trusting others who are really good at what they do, and you stay in the lane of you're really good at what you do, and it will make both of you better. It will make your work better. It will make your happiness better. And honestly, it'll make your clients' lives better. That's what I would say to that.
That's a great answer. And I think that's really helpful for a lot of people to hear because especially I like when you said, even if you think you're good at doing something or that it's a thing you should be doing in your business, you need to rethink that and really strategize where you spend your time. Because just because somebody can do bookkeeping doesn't mean that they should be the bookkeeper for their business when they're also the spokesperson and they're out there making connections and in the public eye. You really shouldn't be sitting at your desk categorizing expenses and income in QuickBooks. There's at some point you have to decide where to allocate everybody's time, and it doesn't mean just your team, but also yourself and where that time should go. So that's great advice. So for you, I know you coach and help so many different people. Right now, you said you're focusing on helping men. You're going to expand into a women's program that will sort of dovetail with what you're doing with men. But what is sort of that quick fix, low-hanging fruit that you see over and over and over again, that when people come to you, that you can help them in a quick way to make some real progress because it's just something that is universal and you see it left and right, and there is a way to help fix that? Because that's something that could maybe help our audience today is if you point out some of the common oops out there and your advice on how to fix it.
The most common oops, and on the one-on-one coaching side, I do work with women and men, but in our group programs, it's men only. And I'll tell you why. When we start talking about relationships and family or making mistakes or regrets, for some reason, 7 or 8 out of 10 men, if there's a woman in the room, they shut down because they don't want to lose that respect, that status, that power. It's probably the most healthy thing they can do. And so that's in our group programs, our masterminds, our retreats, our conferences, is not only do we give the men the gift of going second, but we know they'll open up more when they don't feel like they're losing face in front of a woman. It's sad, but it's a true fact. I wish it wasn't true. But, whether it's women or men, I think the one thing that we don't talk about enough, and it's a two-pronged street, is our relationships with our spouse. Human beings in life is hard enough. And then you add a second human being in that mix, whether you're married or not married or a significant other or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever you want to call it, is universally, people come to me to be better leaders. They come to me to make more money. I was in the business world. They come to me for more power and a better network and to be a better leader in their organization. But what we all need is more self-confidence, more courage, a better mindset, getting rid of that voice inside our head that tells us all these nasty things. And the thing that is consistent across the board, because it's peaks and valleys, is the relationship with our significant other or spouse. Is life is hard. You've got two people with different desires, and you get in these ruts and valleys, and sometimes there's peaks and happiness. But the consistent thing I feel is my marriage is not as good as it want to be, or my relationship with my girlfriend or boyfriend is not exactly where I want it to be. And ultimately, what comes down to is also their sex life is suffering. And so I know that's way off topic, but it's you asked me what the consistency. People come to you for all different things. And I'm not in the change business. I'm in the lift up, betterment, hold space, deep listening, and help you get the best out of you. But once people build a trust in you and you go deep, is because relationships struggle. And the related to that is I think a lot of people are different outside of the home than they are inside the home. And if we can work on being consistent from a value standpoint, a time standpoint, making our relationship with our spouse, because it's truly probably the most important relationship that we have, other than the one with ourselves, is making that a priority, making communication a priority, making the love language priority, making time that's not talking about kids, it's not talking about work, that's not talking about politics, making our time important. I think consistently across the board, I think in some level, not everybody, because we're, it's ups and downs, right? Sometimes my relationship with my wife is the best ever. And sometimes I think she wants to stab me in the eye. And so is us prioritizing that, us talking about it, us asking for help, and us not constantly putting on the face. We'll go out to a restaurant with friends and we're smiling and laughing, and then we come back and we don't even speaking to each other. So I think the thing I see across the board is that.
Wow, super deep. You're right. I mean, we don't generally dive into relationship talk on this podcast, but I'd love to make that exception because this is really food for thought. I mean, human beings, we're not robots. And so the human relationship thing is a struggle, right? It's a struggle. It's sort of like a tightrope walk because you can't just forget to pay attention and you can't just put it on autopilot. Even once you hit a nice stride, I think like being on a tightrope, you have to constantly make adjustments and make sure that you're not about to, fall off. And so, especially with spouses, because spouses or even just a live-in love interest becomes not just your love interest, but now it goes beyond love and attraction. And now this person's your roommate. This is the person you have to negotiate who does the dishes with, who's cooking tonight, who's making sure we have food in the fridge, who's making that doctor appointment for the kids if there's kids. How do we sort of negotiate being financial partners and sometimes business partners and just dividing up the household stuff. It's like that adulting stuff. Adulting is hard. Adulting is challenging. The other day, I don't even remember what, someone in my family was navigating something. It was like a process. I'm trying to remember what it was. And I remember I was like, wow, it's actually really difficult to do. It was administrative, might have been a DMV issue, like a Department of Motor Vehicles. And I remember thinking, adulting is just hard. It's complicated. And there's so much there. I mean, everything from keeping a fridge stocked to making sure everyone's car has an oil change and, the lawn needs mowing and who's, booking the pool person or doing the pool chemicals. And there's just so many chores. And yeah, I think that could breed contempt when you're trying to do this with somebody and there's really no clear path for keeping your relationship positive, despite that you're now these life partners trying to get all the minutia of life accomplished. I love that you brought up this topic. And yeah, I could see where this is low-hanging fruit, where 8 out of 10 people that come to you, when you drill down, there's some improvement that they can easily make in that area of their life.
Completely. And like you said, adulting is hard. Life is hard, right? Life is filled with social pressures and political pressures and money pressures and illness. And the one thing that we all have in common, all of us, is that we're going to die. And that is a gift, because our precious lives are limited and it is extremely short on this earth. And all of those chores is, you can look at it as I have to do this or I get to do this, right? And if you can work on the relationship with your partner, whatever that looks like to you, in that choose to see the goodness, choose to see the opportunities, choose to see the gratitude that we actually get to do these things, that some people don't even have the opportunity. And there's people in the hospitals dying to have the opportunities that we have. And how beautiful is it that someone has decided during this period of your life to walk this journey of life with you? And if we can forget that and get over the grass is greener syndrome, because you know why the grass is greener is because it's fake. And so if we can get over that and do life together and know it's preciously short, and there's something that brought you together in love anyway, there's so many little small tips and hacks and tools that you can build to build that. And that way, when it's not if life gets hard, when life gets hard, that you've got somebody standing next to you to do those things with you. And the last thing I'll say, and this is on topic but off topic, is one of the reasons life is so short, so hard right now is we're getting inundated with what I call darkness and poison. The news is wanting to divide us. They want to make you feel like a victim. They're wanting to make you despise whatever the other party is that doesn't believe what you do. And we're better than that. And we're just better than that. And so if we can turn off all that noise, maybe watch a little less Netflix and Amazon, which is also filled with noise, and hang around with our significant other, our friends who make us better, who make us happier, make us better. Your relationship with your spouse, your relationship with yourself, your relationship with others will just be better, because we're just inundated nonstop with worry, division, fear, anger, rage. This person did this to me. And that's just all, we're just better than that. And so that all plays into your relationships. It all plays into your work. It all plays into your clients, and it plays into your life. So I just wanted to add that in there, is we need to replace that darkness with some positivity, like this podcast. So I'll give you a plug there.
Well, brilliant. And thanks for sharing that. Those are great thoughts. I have a question for you, because when you were describing your program and how it is it's going to be divided into sort of the men can get together and talk about things, and that's the group coaching. And so that way they can feel more open, where they're not being judged by women in the room, and maybe feel more free to share. And then vice versa, I'm sure with the women, similar dynamics, right? And I'm a member of many women's organizations, left and right, not just in entrepreneurship, but I mean, there's commercial real estate women, Crew, the group that I used to participate in the Bay Area. I mean, there's quite a few different mentorship programs that are sort of gender divided. But we're coming into this interesting era where gender is becoming quite fluid. And I don't know if it's the millennials or even which generation is sort of changing this dynamic, but I've always been curious how this is going to start impacting any sort of program that has a gender component to it. For example, if there is a woman who says, well, I love your programs, I love what you teach, and I want to go to one of your retreats, but I'm interested in going to the men's retreat because I feel more masculine and I identify more as a man. And that's where I want to sit in the group and do that self-exploration and be with others and have that community. But then on the flip side, you have other people in the group, men, who maybe feel differently, or I don't know, how are you going to deal with that? And you may have not thought it all the way through, because I think everybody right now is sort of struggling to figure out how we could live in a world where the definition of gender starts to change or blur. So none of us have the answer, I don't think, right now. But is that something that you're starting to think about, because your programs are sort of divided between gender?
Yep, they are divided. Not the one-on-one coaching, it's definitely not divided. And the ultimate goal is to, we have the women's movement, we have the men's movement, and then ultimately we'll have everyone into one as well. We'll have cross-sectionals of both. It's an interesting question. And so for me, I have, right, wrong, or indifferent is I don't want to sacrifice the entire group for one individual. I won't do that. I just simply won't. So it's interesting you said that this person identifies more as masculine. People have been making fun of me for years because they said my wife is the man in the relationship and I'm the female in the relationship. Apparently, I'm really emotional and she's not. So that's interesting you say that and how those things are coming together. And good for the millennials, by the way. So hopefully we'll have some, we are just who we are and we identify for what we identify. But for me, if I had a particular person ask me to come into the group, I would take the good news is I'm a privately held company and I can do whatever. But I would have no problem with it, zero problem with bringing a female into a men's group, assuming or asking that the other men didn't have a problem with it. Because if the men had a problem with it, then I probably wouldn't sacrifice 7 or 8 or the company or the movement or what we're trying to accomplish of getting guys to go deep if they didn't feel comfortable with it. However, I will say this, all of the men that have come through my program, I just don't see them having a problem with it. But the problem with the retreat, especially at the mastermind level, the problem with the retreat, and I'm just telling you this, and this is data. This is not my opinion. And we can't let the data, we can't let sometimes, for our emotion, I can't cater to everyone's emotions. And it is exhausting trying to do that. But the data says this, if you start talking deep into making mistakes or things that you regret doing, especially around relationships, marriages, dating, sex life, forgiveness, and other things that for some reason, right, wrong, or indifferent, when a female's in the room, they'll shut down. And so if we ever came up with that situation, then we'd have to just take a vote on it. And if not, hopefully they would go through a different program of ours. But, we're not the flavor for everybody. And I don't want to be the flavor for everybody. And I will not cater to everyone or everything. We have a certain formula that we do, right, wrong, or indifferent. And that's where we're at this current time.
And we can't please everybody. I teach self-publishing.
I don't even know how. I wouldn't even know how to please. I can barely please me.
I know. And in the world of publishing, you've made it once you get your first 1-star review, because it's inevitable. Not everybody's going to love what you do. Not everybody's going to. There's someone on a stage once said, look, you're going to have haters. It's just life. It's the way it is. There's some people who love to hate. So it might not even be anything about you. They're having fun hating and you just happen to walk in front of them and now you're the object of their hate. But
darkness loves darkness, doesn't it? Darkness loves darkness.
Unfortunately, true. And he said, let's pull up some kids' books. And he pulled up one of the classic children's books called Goodnight Moon, which, anyone who's listening who's a parent, I'm sure you have 1 or 2 copies on your bookshelf, and they're probably well read because it's one of the favorite books of history and just kids love it. It's a great book. But if you go to look at the reviews on Amazon, there's people who are like, why is there this old lady in a rocking chair in the book? Makes no sense. 1 star. Oh, pick more colors. Why are the colors so jarring? The yellow and green and red, 1 star. And it's funny how everything has a hater. It doesn't matter how wonderful something is. And again, like you said, you can't please everybody. And it makes sense that you have decided as a company, you're not even going to try because it's impossible to do that.
It's impossible and it would be exhausting. And it's so interesting. 8 years ago, Obama could get up in the morning and say good morning and 70-something million people in America would hear F you. And then fast forward 6 months ago and Donald Trump could get up and say good morning and 70 million people would hear F you. And so it goes back to this is we have to participate in our own rescue. If you're unhappy, if you're angry, if you're judgmental, if you're not as successful in life, and we've all had big things done to us, we've all had regrets. But if you're unhappy and hating and judging and angry, that is a choice. And you can choose to stay that way, or you can choose to participate in your own rescue and start seeing the love, learnings, and goodness all around you. Just the fact that you're in a country that you can get angry in, the fact that you have breath in your lungs, the fact that 9 out of 10 things that you want to choose to do in this place, you can do it. And you can either choose to see the negative side of light or the lights or the life side of life. And so that goes back to what I was saying is people who are constantly hating and angry and trolling and judging and wanting to come out of the good news is we'll fight. And so you come at us, we will come at you legally. You know what I'm saying? So be prepared. But I don't want to choose to live that. I don't want to choose to live in the darkness and anger and judgment and cynicism. I want to choose to see the goodness. I want to choose to learn other people's opinions. And so it's ultimately up to us to be better. There's no politician that's going to save us. No, we've got to look in the mirror. It's the problem and the solution. And honestly, we can't please everyone. And I don't want to please everyone. And so we're getting inundated with this messaging from all news. I don't care if it's the left news, the right news, or the center news, is they're inundating you with this division because their job is to sell advertising. If you're angry, if you're mad, if you feel like a victim, and social media, I mean, it's likes. We're all wanting validation. We're all wanting to be seen, heard, loved, and valued. And when someone likes my negative message, hey, I'm validated, so let me put some more hate out there. Well, they're catering to your emotions. You are a user at that point. And so you can choose to go to the mirror. Hey, I'm not happy. What am I going to do to be happy? Am I going to blame Jack over there or Tammy over there? Or am I going to say, hey, I'm going to go find out how I can be happy, joyful, fulfilled? So I'll get off my soapbox, but yeah, it's impossible to cater to everyone.
Well, I love that soapbox. I love that you said that you choose to live in positivity, and we're all lucky that we actually have that choice. Every single person can make choices every minute of the day that will put them on the road to positive things. You can also make choices that put you on the road to more negativity in your life. And so that is in our hands. We make the decision. We have free will. And I love that you choose the positive. And I hope that everyone listening, including myself, I mean, we should all make a commitment to increase the positivity in our lives and also to continually choose to improve ourselves, because that's really should be our path in this life, on this world. So for you, if somebody wants to connect with you, what is the best way? I know you've got your book, so tell us where people can buy the book and also how they can connect with you, either through a website or a channel somewhere, because I'm sure there's people listening who want more.
The good news is all of our messaging is universal. Doesn't matter if you're green, blue, purple, polka dotted, gay, straight, Democrat, Republican, it's all goodness and light. And so the book, Legendary, super thankful it's become a Wall Street Journal and USA Today bestseller. Just super grateful for that. It is available in all bookstores of your choice. I would say where it is, but whatever your flavor of bookstore is, it is there. It's in Audible, it's in electronics and paperback, hardback. If you want to reach out to me, I'm on LinkedIn at Tommy Breedlove and Instagram at Tommy Breedlove. Again, we're always putting goodness out there, asking good questions or giving a tip on relationships or money or success or leadership or happiness and joy or taking personal accountability for your life. And I think that's what our news is missing right now is we are the problem and the solution. Go find the mirror. Let's take accountability to our happiness, our success, our peace of mind. And by the way, being a better human to each other. And so if you want to find me or my website, there's all kind of good stuff there. www.tommybreedlove.com. All of our women's programs and retreats are coming online next year. If you're interested in one-on-one coaching with me, it doesn't matter if you're female or male, I'm open for business and would love to help you, or one of my other coaches would love to help you. But yeah, tommybreedlove.com is the website. The book Legendary is at all of your local bookstores. It's at all of your national bookstores as well. And if you want to follow something positive on social media that doesn't sell to you and it doesn't put out any kind of political negativity, I'd love to have you at Tommy Breedlove on Instagram or Tommy Breedlove on Facebook or LinkedIn.
Tommy, it has been such a pleasure to chat with you today and to talk about all of this. It's not just practical advice, but also a lot of philosophical things to think about and mull over. And I hope everyone who's listening has enjoyed it as much as I have. Thanks for being on the show, Tommy. Can't wait to connect again.
What an honor. I'm so grateful for you. And I hope all of you have an absolutely fantastic day.
Guess what, lifestyle solopreneurs? If you don't yet have an online business earning you enough passive income to live the life of your dreams, I'd like to suggest you consider trying out Kajabi. Kajabi is an all-in-one solution where you can create and teach online courses, publish a paid newsletter, launch a free or paid podcast, process payments, build one-on-one coaching portals for your clients, and much, much more. I personally use Kajabi to power numerous successful and profitable online businesses. Lifestyle solopreneurs, there's a free trial of Kajabi waiting for you at this link, www.kfreetrial.com. You can try Kajabi for free, no obligation, by going to www.kfreetrial.com. Again, kfreetrial.com, and that K stands for Kajabi. Starting an online business helped me break free from that corporate grind, and I hope it does the same for you. You have nothing to lose and absolutely everything to gain. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and see you next time.